Are you running on fat or are you running on sugar? And is one better than the other? That's what I'm going to answer in today's video. Hey, I'm Alex for DNA Fat Loss Coach. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new here, do go ahead, like the video and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. To those who are returning, I appreciate you. Again, go through the same spiel, would really appreciate that. And let me know what future videos that you want to see. I'm always curious what you guys want to watch. I'm going to start off with a car analogy. Okay, most cars aren't very flexible. They either run on petrol or they run on diesel. Okay, and if you put petrol in a diesel or diesel in a petrol, very soon you're going to have problems. Your engine's going to seize up. You're going to have to basically replace, pump. It's just a nightmare. I'm not talking from experience, luckily, but cars aren't really designed to work on multiple fuel sources. But what about our bodies? Are we flexible to different fuels? Let me put it this way. If humans had not adapted to running on either sugar or fat, by sugar I mean carbs, okay? Either carbs or sugar or fat, we'd have been extinct a long time ago. We would not have made it this far. It's our incredible ability to store excess energy, whatever the source pretty much, as fat, and then utilize those fat stores in times of need that has kept us alive to this day. Okay? Imagine hunter-gatherers, right? They go through periods of feast and of famine. When they're feasting, they are storing, they're in storage mode. Okay? They store extra body fat, extra energy to use when there's a famine, and they cannot gain access to any food sources. Okay, and that's when their body would utilize their fat stores to keep them alive. But these days, with our current incredible abundance of food, right, food is so readily available. I can nip out, find 100 different places to eat or 100 different things to eat in minutes. I can even go on my phone, order food in, that'll be here within the hour. Right, and I'm sure most of you can as well, right? We're just living in this incredible state of abundance when it comes to food. So we're never ever going through this period of famine that some of our ancestors will have gone through. Okay? So our body is just basically building and building these fat stores for the most part. Okay? That's why we're just in such a state of abundance that unfortunately finds itself on our bodies. But we're now in a phase where we want to optimize our body and our performance, okay, especially our mental performance for work purposes, for example. We want to boost clarity, mental focus, and we want to sustain that for as long as possible. And what I want to tell you today is that that is possible if you become what is termed fat adapted. You see, whilst we can run on both carbs, sugar, or fat, our body tends to run better with the benefits I'm about to outline below when we're running on fat as a primary fuel source. Now, just a few caveats here. When I'm talking about carbs, and I say carbs or sugar, right? Carbohydrate, starch, right? And when carbohydrates get broken down within the body, that starch breaks off into individual bits of glucose. Glucose is sugar. No matter how complex the carb, no matter how healthy the carb, at the end of the day, your body is running on sugar. Okay, it will break down those carbs. Depending on like how complex they are, that will take a varying degree of time, right? So if you eat or drink a soda, for example, you're going to get a very quick hit of glucose or sugar. If you have some sweet potato or some beans or legumes or lentils, they have some carbs in, that's going to take a lot longer to process. However, at the end of the day, carbs break down to sugar. So no matter what it starts off as in the body, it eventually ends up as sugar. The second point is that it's a sliding scale. Okay, we're not either running on fat or on carbs. Okay, it's going to be some combination of one or the other, and we want to kind of switch that balance more in favor of running on fat than on carbs. So some of the benefits of being fat adapted include improved hunger response. Right, we're just less hungry if we eat more fat. The thing with carbs is it can cause our energy to go up and down all day long, right? You've probably been the person at some point who's had maybe a piece of toast with jam on for breakfast, By mid-morning you're hungry, so you have a snack bar, chocolate bar, that keeps you going until lunch. By lunch you're ravenous, so you have a big sandwich, maybe with some crisps, right, and that keeps you going until mid-afternoon, and then you have, right, we're just following this blood sugar roller coaster all throughout the day. But when we start to fuel our body more with fat, and we start to become more fat adapted, we really dull and we slow that response, so we can stay full for hours and hours. Okay, you could have a really high fat breakfast and that will sustain you for hours. You might not even want lunch, or you might just have a small little lunch because you're so satisfied. Maybe you have a big lunch and then you're really satisfied all the way until late dinner, for example. Benefit number 2, you have less carb cravings. Okay, your carb intake fuels your carb intake, right? As weird as that sounds, there's literally a mechanism within the body that if you have sugar, your body wants more sugar. So if you start to eat more fat and less sugar, you naturally want less sugar. It works in both ways, okay? It's cyclic in both senses. Both in the positive sense, if you start to reduce your intake, then you'll naturally find yourself reduce your intake further. If you start to increase your intake of sugar, then you're going to want more and more and more and more sugar, okay? So it's your decision which way you want to take that, but it can be quite relatively easy to take advantage of that. Number 3, reduced snacking, okay? Ties in with the 2 previous points. Because we have less cravings and because we have less hunger, we find ourselves snacking less. And it's often, I'm not going to say all the time, but very often the snacking that is actually causing a lot of problems when it comes to fat loss. Okay, it's those convenient, highly palatable, highly processed, low quality foods that we eat when we're snacking that can really rack up the calories and start to just really waylay our fat loss efforts. Benefit number 4, a bit of a funny one, but we can have improved or more stable mood, okay? Right, fat can literally make us feel happier or more stable in our mood. Rather than following this hungry, full, sleepy, hungry, full, sleepy, right, cycle all day long, we're just stable, right? We're just kind of consistent, more flat, consistent energy, consistent mood. That makes sense? Benefit number 5, improved and consistent energy. Just touched on it then, but if you don't experience this chronic up and down, up and down, up and down, this roller coaster that we're creating with carbohydrates, you can really just enjoy consistent, kind of flat energy, I call it. You just have energy all day long without worrying about it, okay? If you are fat adapted, you are more likely to have more consistent energy. Benefit number 6 is boosted mental clarity, right? If your energy levels are more stable, what's going to follow that is going to be your mental clarity. This is an amazing one, and one of the biggest benefits. If you're looking to improve your performance, becoming more fat adapted will definitely help you. I'm going to break down my 3 steps to becoming more fat adapted in just a second. Step number 7 is probably one of the best of all. It's easier fat loss, okay? When your body is used to running on carbs and it has to switch to stored body fat, okay, when you're in a calorie deficit and you run out of energy, okay, to lose fat, that's very, very hard. That's when the hunger ramps up because your body wants more carbs because you've eaten carbs, right? But if you're already eating a lot of fat and you run out of dietary fat and your body switches from dietary fats to body fat, there's very, very little difference, right? They are essentially the same. Your body sees it as fat. Fat is fat. It's not going from carbs to fat, it's going from fat to fat. So it's just that transition is so much easier, and you can go longer without feeling hungry, and your energy level is going to be more consistent, your mood is going to be more stable. It just makes fat loss so much easier. So how can we make that transition from probably more carb adapted to more fat adapted? Okay, here's my 3-step process. Step number 1, start to include more healthy fats into your diet. Okay, I'm talking salmon, avocados, eggs, olive oil, nuts, seeds, right? There's more, but high quality, very low processed, if processed at all, fat sources are going to be the winner here. Step number 2, as your satiety starts to increase because you're consuming more high quality food, start to reduce your carb intake, okay? Essentially, we're going with a addition first rather than subtraction. And with that addition of high quality fats from step number 1, you'll probably find naturally that the rest of your intake just starts to diminish. Maybe you find snacking just disappears or starts to reduce. You find you're craving less carbs. Maybe you're just more full and satisfied. You don't need that additional meal or additional snack, right? So step number 2 is just to utilize that kind of sensation, those feelings, and start to reduce your carb intake. And step number 3 is to listen to your body. Okay, I highlighted all the benefits. Start to listen to when those start to come online for you. How's your mental clarity? How's your energy? How's even your sleep? How's your mood? Do you feel better eating this way? Could you maybe drop your carbs a little bit further, especially the highly processed carbs? Could you maybe push your fat a little bit higher if you think you need it? Listen to your body. Your body will tell you and give you great feedback. Listen to it and move forward from there. So, are you going to become more fat adapted? Is that something you think will benefit you in your performance? And where on the sliding scale do you see yourself right now? Do you think you're quite carb dependent or much more fat adapted? Let me know in the comments below. Would really like to hear your thoughts. And do go ahead, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.